Hey everybody, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and Country Cook Steve Hall here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with pretty Miss Sheila behind the camera, and today I'm going to show you how I cut up an onion. Now I say at the very beginning, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, Interpreter, and Country Cook, because that's all I am. I'm just a country cook, a guy that learned from different people, picked up recipes, people like you that send in all kinds of tips. Hey, I use this barbecue sauce, I use that. I learn from you as well as you learn from me, hopefully. But I'm going to show you how I cut up an onion, and it's not, believe it or not, like a lot of these pro chefs that do it on YouTube, and it scares me to death. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look. Now first, I'm going to show you how I see chefs do this on YouTube, and it just makes me nervous. First of all, they tell you leave the little hairy end here, the little root end, and cut this end off here. And then they tell you to cut it in half, like this. Then they tell you to take off this outer layer of the onion all the way around, which is kind of a pain in the neck because it wraps around here, but leave that little end on there. Okay, this is the way they show you how to do it on there. And again, I'm not a chef, but I'll show you two different ways that they do it. I seen one lady that actually makes cuts this way only, and she went all the way around by making little cuts, getting close to that, but not hitting it, and going all the way around like this, slant, you know, following the, however it slants, make sure your knife does that. And probably a safer way, and then cutting it off like this. And that's how she did hers. Not bad. Now I'm going to show you, and I don't even want to bring up the name Ramsay, but I'm going to show you how professional chefs show you how to do it. They cut this way, like this. Then they do what I had Cub Scouts when I was a kid, and they told me never cut towards your hand, always cut away from your hand. You never whittle this way, you whittle a stick that way. But they want you to lay your fingers on top here and lay this knife. I'm going to do it even though I hate to do it. And then they have you cut in kind of at an, Jesus, just makes me nervous. And then cut in again down this way, in like that. And then they cut it off and screw all that. I'm not even going to do it. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Here's how I cut up an onion. Pretty simple. They want you to leave one on here and there. I don't do that. I cut off both ends, just like that. I cut it in half. Makes it real easy to pull that outer skin off because it just pops right off of there. And then I do what the Cub Scouts taught me, is I cut straight away from, I put the back of the knife up against my hand, and I cut straight down. Real simple. Every cut is going away from my hand. Then I roll it over like this, cut it, there's your onion. Just that simple, okay? And I'm never cutting towards myself. It takes me a third as long. I'm not a professional chef, but it makes me nuts when I see them do that because I think you don't have to do all that. Now if you want bigger onions, just make two cuts and cut bigger chunks like this. Duh, now you have bigger diced onions. It's just that plain and simple. Then I have one other problem that I ran into. To doing it my way, when you run into a big onion like this, it doesn't want to lay right. Let me see which one here I want. Like this, because this is kind of up and difficult to cut. You can still do it. It makes it a little bit difficult. I even lay these flat, and I cut it through. Then I lay these two chunks flat. Then I chop the ends off when I can really be in control of it. Then, same thing. This peels right off the outside of the onion. I'm getting kind of in a hurry here, so maybe I'm taking a little bit too much. But same thing with this one. Everything's cutting down. I don't have to be up here balancing around with a big awkward onion. So I do cook with these big ones, and I like them. But I want everything to be flat. And again, to cut this, I am not going to do slots and cut towards my fingers with a knife. I refuse to do it. I just refuse to do it. If I went to culinary school, I'd tell them, throw me out, because I'm not going to cut that way when I chop up an onion. I'm going to chop it this way like this, straight down. Back of the knife is against my hand. I can never cut my fingers. The only time I'm at risk is when I'm cutting this way that you're coming back like this. Now if you want fine onions, nothing could be finer than that to go in your tuna fish salad or put in any dishes where you want real fine onions. Just make your fine cuts like that. And of course, if you want bigger onions for like stews and soups, 3 cuts, cut it in bigger chunks, just that easy. And that, my friends, is how I cut up an onion. And again, watch your thumb. It's the only one that's at danger. Cut off both sides, cut it in half, put it down, and cut from your hand down, and then chop this way. This here, when I see them leave that one end on and make all those cuts this way and all those cuts this way where they're sawing towards their hand, I go nuts. I'm sorry, but, and I don't mean to be bent out of shape about it, but I think it's wrong. And you can write me a letter or post it if you think I'm wrong, but I've been cutting up onions this way, and I've never, ever went this direction with a knife. Refused to do it. So I hope that's helpful. I can't even remember what I said before I moved the camera out front because I'm still in a panic over slicing towards my fingers with a knife. I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, but when I was a little Cub Scout, they taught me never cut towards your hands, cut away. If you're cutting rope, don't cut in, cut away. So that's how I chop up onions. Cut off both ends, peel them off, the caps come off real easy. You don't have to tear it all the way around to leave that root on there. I don't get the purpose of that. Then they cut it this way, then they slice it that way, it just makes me nervous. Then they finally cut it this way. By the time they're done doing all that, I got 3 onions chopped up fine, coarse, any way you want, and looking good. I got a whole plate full here, whole bowl full here, just doing the demonstration, and I did that in a matter of no time flat. I hope that works out for you guys. Hope it keeps your fingers on your hands. And if I'm wrong and I was supposed to go to culinary school to learn to chop towards my left hand, I'm not going. Sorry. Country Cook here, Steve Hall saying I hope you subscribe. There's the button right up there. And if you enjoy our recipes, forget this if I get a little bit passionate about it, but I am. And if you like our recipes, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time right out here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. And make sure you bring all your fingers with you. See you, bye. You know, I already took my microphone pack off, but I turned it back on so I could hold the mic in front of me just to tell you quick at the end of this video. I'm getting ready to vacuum pack these onions in some small little packages. Another thing I use my vacuum packer for, chuck them in the refrigerator, they don't smell, and they stay fresh for days and days and days. And I'll use them up for omelets and that kind of thing. But I just wanted to include that at the end, let you know I'm not going to chuck these in the garbage. They're going in the frying pan. Bye-bye. I told you I was going to vacuum pack those onions. Then I'll just cut the top off, take a few out, vacuum seal it again, and so on and so forth. By the way, this bag, 3 cents in my chamber vac machine. Look it up on the YouTube channel that we have. See you next time. Bye-bye.